Hello, and welcome to Eye in the Heart. Today, I'm going to teach you your ABCs. No, I'm going to talk to you about the A.B.C method of cognitive behavioral therapy, which has been life-changing for me, and I find it like such an easy exercise that you can do all the time to deal with any emotional state that you're in. One of the beautiful things about cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT, is that it looks at emotions from an evidence-based perspective. You can say, I am a loser, and CBT will say, well, where is the evidence that you're a loser? Are you a loser all the time? And this is one of the techniques that you can use in your life every day. If you're having a panic attack, if you're just anxious about a future event, or you're just feeling meh, you know what I mean? This can help you. I call it the ABC. We're getting back to Sesame Street today. You know, Kermit the Frog is going to make an appearance. Anyway, here we go. So, ABC. This is how you do it. Let's say you need to make a presentation for your job, and they want you to do it because they say, or you just have to do it. They say, well, the other guy can't do it, you got to do it. And you go, but I don't want to do it. And then, well, you got to do it. Okay, you got to do it. It's time for the ABC method. Okay, so it's a man. He's got to do a presentation. Let's give him a name that we like. Let's call him Dumbledore. Why not? Dumbledore has to make a presentation for his office. He's very anxious about the presentation. Dumbledore is very used to reading books, casting magic spells, not so good at presentations. Okay, I know that's not the reality of whatever the Harry Potter universe says, but in this case, Dumbledore is an anxious public speaker, okay? A is the activating event. If you can, you should write it down so you remember. The activating event is whatever's happening that's making him anxious. Dumbledore does not get anxious around books or magic spells. He gets anxious around public speaking. So the activating event is public speaking. God, I've got terrible handwriting. This is awful. Never mind. I'm sure your handwriting is much better than mine. So that's the first step. A is just that. Let's move on to B. Now that we've figured out what the thing is that's making you anxious, we can move on to the next step. The reason why I paused there was because sometimes the activating event isn't a situation that's coming up. It could be an emotional state. Like I talked about in my last video, it could be resistance to an emotional state. I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. That can be an activating event. That can be an event, an emotional event in your life that really has consequences. Or I feel like I can't get out of bed, can be an activating event. We're moving on to B. So it's ABC. This is the B part. This can be very useful. B is beliefs. I hate my handwriting so much. Beliefs, okay? It's important to do this on paper. The reason why it's important is because first of all, it gets it out of your system. Second of all, you can look at it afterwards and read it back. You could do it in audio format too, or a video like this. You could just do it on your photo booth or whatever you have on your PC. But it's very important that you really write out what your beliefs about the event are. So I'm going to pretend I'm Dumbledore. Dumbledore says to himself, everybody thinks that I'm the greatest wizard in all of the lands. I'm going to go up and give this presentation, and they're going to see that I'm super anxious, and I'm going to lose all respect from everyone. Nobody is going to understand that I'm very good at what I do, but during this presentation, I'm terrible, right? That means that maybe I don't even have as much control of my life as I thought I did. Maybe I shouldn't be here. I feel like a fraud. Shouldn't a professor at a magic school be able to talk about these things without having a nervous breakdown? So all of those are just stream of consciousness thoughts. You write them out very detailed, very specifically. This is what's happening, okay? C. A.B.C. Consequences. Bad handwriting is a consequence of not practicing. So the consequences of these beliefs. You can read through it again, all of the things that you believe about it, and go, so Dumbledore, for example, I'm a fraud. How does that make me feel? It makes me feel like I'm a fraud, like I need to hide away. People will think that I'm a failure or not a good magic teacher. What do I do in that situation? I want to stop working at Hogwarts, right? My whole career at Hogwarts could end with this speech. And this could be a 5-minute speech, by the way, or a 2-minute speech, or just a couple of words. But this is what happens in our heads, and this is how hard we are on ourselves. This is what can happen. So Dumbledore has beaten himself up. He has to speak. He's told himself he's going to fail. He knows it in his brain. He's written down the consequences of when it definitely happens, that he is going to fail. He's going to be fired from Hogwarts. He's never going to practice magic again and be the laughingstock of everyone in Narnia. No, I'm kidding. I know it's not Narnia. But anyway, now we move on to the helpful narrative psychology aspect of this, which isn't narrative psychology. This is cognitive behavioral therapy, but it really does tie in with positive psychology and narrative psychology. We're going to say, because we've got A.B.C., we're going to write NB, okay? NB is new beliefs. We're writing the story. We're changing the narrative, just like we do in my practice with narrative psychology. We're going to change the story now. But how are we going to change it? Are we just going to make up a fantastical story? No. We're going to go and we're going to act like a scientist and look at every single sentence that you detailed and documented like a scientist when you were writing your beliefs. He said, I'm a fraud and I'm going to be exposed as a fraud. Okay, so we can look at that sentence. We can take it apart and say, are you really a fraud? Because you're good at your spells, you're good at your textbooks, you're good at teaching students, but you're not good at public speaking. Does that mean you're a fraud as a teacher? 100%? No. Okay, so we can negate that. And we can go on and on and on and look at it as facts objectively. Okay? And once we look at it objectively as facts and test it against reality, we may even ask other people. We may ask friends and family to look at some of the beliefs that we've written about ourselves. And if not, look at that, maybe not look at those intimate details. If you don't want to share them, just say, hey, do you think that I'm a fraud at Hogwarts? And they'll say, no, you're the world's most wonderful wizard, and we love you. But testing this against reality is very important. So you're working with it like a scientist works with it. So after we've written all the wonderful new beliefs and drawn a stupid smiley face, we want to move on to the new consequences. NC. Okay? The new consequences in this situation is, if I'm not a failure, right? If I'm not a fraud, then what am I? Well, maybe I just have an external problem with public speaking, which I can work on. How can I work on that? I could practice my speech. What happens if I fail at my speech? It's okay, because people know that I'm a valuable member of Hogwarts, a valuable teacher, okay? They're not going to expect me to be totally perfect in everything that I do. I'm not. This is trying too hard is coming in. My second video is about trying too hard. I'm going to go up there and be Dumbledore. I'm going to be a weird, multifaceted Dumbledore version of Dumbledore, which is, yes, he's a brilliant, powerful wizard who happens to not be very good at public speaking. And the new consequences of that action is, I see that in reality, although I'm not good at public speaking and I might feel some tension and anxiety leading up to and during the speech, I actually have a lot more control of this situation than I'm giving myself credit for. And even if I fail, people understand. Worst case scenario is that people will ask me if I'm okay, and I'll get a lot of love for even attempting it. And that many people will understand that this speech is difficult for me, but proud of me for being a little hero that has attempted to do something that maybe I don't feel 100% comfortable with. So that is the A.B.C. NB-NC method that you can use every day for any situation, even if it's something that's just happening in your head. And it's just one of the many techniques available with cognitive behavioral therapy that psychologists use that, you can learn from us. I want to give a personal pointer to people that are engaging in counseling or therapy or who are seeing a psychologist. One of the things that I think that people miss out on about working with psychologists, and this is one of the great aspects of narrative therapy and narrative psychology, a client decides the direction that the therapy is going. So you decide what you need. And one of the things that I find that people don't do enough, and it's so important when they do, because it means that they're taking ownership of the process, is saying, do you have any tools for me to use? And that's such a beautiful question, because I've hired you, I'm paying you money. Where are the tools? What can you offer me as far as tools go? And maybe your psychologist that day is a little tired and can't recall all of the tools that he learned in a course that he did 10 years ago. But I can bet you dollars to donuts that the next time he's going to come with a pamphlet filled with tools and see which one that you like. This is the work that we do together as psychologist and as client. And it's such a beautiful process that if you're experiencing any symptoms, I really urge you to engage with, because they can be, depending on your psychologist, extremely fun, very, very rewarding. And I want to thank you for watching this video with me. All the best to you, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Goodbye.